There's sad news tonight. Hazel Hawke has died aged 83. She was much more than just the ex-wife of the former Prime Minister Bob Hawke. She was an energetic advocate for women's rights, education and more recently Alzheimer's. Mrs Hawke herself suffered from dementia in her final years. Australians have held her in great affection for many years, and with me in the studio tonight is her closest friend, Wendy McCarthy. I'm sorry that we have to have you in these circumstances.
Look, I'm really happy to be here because I just really want to talk about Hazel. I know she's loved, and since the news broke tonight, my phone's practically worn out with people sending messages and emails and so on. And I think it's that sense that Hazel was always there for all of us. And in the last week or so, as we've known that she wasn't going to last much longer, when I've rung places to say, you know, we will have a memorial service in 3 or 4 weeks, but we'll have a private funeral. People have said, oh, look, come to our place, you know, it's of the people. And in a way, for me, that's Hazel, you know, the feet on the ground, the bravery and the courage, but that sense of being of the people and sort of saying things like, well, come on, Wen, let's give it a go.
That's an incredible thing for the wife of a Prime Minister to be able to portray to the Australian people, because they do live a fairly removed life, I suppose, from ordinary people. What was it about Hazel that allowed her to have that connection?
Well, I think she came from a family that was grounded in, I don't know, the sands of Western Australia in a way. And I think that she was a very humble person in lots of ways. And when we first met and became friends, and one of the things she used to say was, you know, I really didn't get a proper formal education. And at that stage, but she started to study when she was working with the Brotherhood of St Lawrence. And I said, it doesn't matter, because actually what you've got, you could never learn formally. You have that extraordinary capacity to relate to people. And there's a little thing, one day I was looking for a tracksuit for her while she was living in care. And I'm rumbling around and I finally said to the woman, haven't you got anything better than this? I've got a friend who's in care and I wanted to have a decent tracksuit. She said, oh yes, and she said, oh, who's it for or something? And I said, my friend Hazel Hawke. And she said, why didn't you say? And miraculously, a whole new range of tracksuits came out in David Jones.
The Hazel Hawke range.
The Hazel Hawke range. And people they just relate to her. And I think it is that she took you into the life she had.
And she did an awful lot of community work. She was very focused on giving back to the community.
Things like tree planting and going to kindergartens. I've got the most glorious photograph of her opening the Wendy McCarthy Childcare Centre in the ABC. And there she is with little kids sort of clinging on to her and, you know, the managing director hovering in the background. Nobody the slightest bit interested in him. Hazel, Hazel, Hazel. And she just does have that endearing quality. And it is something about her humility, but she's not a person, she was always a person with extraordinarily strong convictions. And if you had a cause, like children's television, she was on your side, she was formidable.
I interviewed her daughter, Sue Peters-Hawke, about 18 months ago, and she said to me that she thought her mother's enduring legacy was that she appealed to our better judgment. Do you think that's right?
She brings out our better selves. She does. She has that capacity to make people feel they can live up. They can find their noble purpose in a way. There's something about their inner soul, and they feel able to talk. They felt able to talk to her about it without feeling silly. It's a very unusual and rare capacity. And Hazel could talk to anyone, anywhere, and listen to them and have that sense of the better self come out.
And you said the family's organising a public memorial?
Yes, we will be organising a public memorial in 3 or 4 weeks, and we'll let everyone know about it, and we'll celebrate her life then in a very rich way and with a lot of music.
What do you think is the best way that Australians could honour the memory of Hazel Hawke?
The very best thing for Australians to do is, I tell you, to donate to the Alzheimer's Fund. Hazel, you know, the bravery to do the Australian story that she did when she already was suffering from Alzheimer's, and to say to people, I want to share this with you. And I want you to know this is a journey I don't want to go on, but I want to be there. And Alzheimer's Australia, I really want Alzheimer's Australia to be able to, who've supported her and been really strong backups to the family, to have the Hazel Hawke Research Dementia Fund, which already exists and people do donate, is just the biggest thing the Australian population could do. It could be the greatest bit of crowdfunding.
I'm very sorry for the loss of your friend and for a great woman for our nation. Thank you very much for coming in to talk about her.
Thanks, Lee.